Good evening, good evening. This is Venus with No Mess. Just want to let y'all guys know that verdict is in. Okay, guys? The verdict is in for the little baby boy, Julian Wood. Okay, guys? Here we go.
All right, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, at this time, we thank you for your service. Again, I don't think any of us could go too far beyond saying that having you for 2 weeks, we know has been a cause for you to disrupt your lives, and so we thank you for your service. At this time, I'll read the verdicts on all charges, and then with respect to that, I will poll each of you just to confirm that it is your decision of this verdict. So with respect to the 9 counts and the furthermore, this jury says that they duly find and impaneled as sworn jurors in this case do find the defendant, Bionca Ellis, guilty of all charges. Those guilty charges also carry with it the furthermore that she did commit the other charge as requested with a finding of all 12 of you. So with that being said, juror number 1, is this your decision?
Yes.
Juror number 2?
Yes.
Juror number 3?
Yes.
Juror number 4? Juror number 5?
Yes.
Juror number 6?
Yes.
Juror number 7? Juror number 8? Juror number 9? Juror number 10? Juror number 11? And juror number 12. All right, thank you. Again, I thank you for your service on behalf of Cuyahoga County and the 34 judges here. And we, at this time, will rise for the jury and we'll have a moment to speak to you afterwards. I'll have counsel to sidebar to review the verdict.
All right, Michael, guilty of all 9 charges. I'm not surprised that they found her flat guilty.
Yeah, not a surprise. I'm glad it took them 8 hours to reach that decision, which means maybe there were some people there who disagreed or needed to be convinced or they wanted to talk it through. But clearly they did their job.
Yes,
right?
very
They worked
thorough.
at it, very thorough. They came up with this decision, and I can't say I disagree.
Everyone be seated.
Thank you. You can be seated. Thank you. All right, so at this time, having an opportunity to review the verdict forms, the court is going to set a sentencing date. I had asked the lawyers, I'm going to set it for October 27th at, again, 8:30 in the morning. I think we've been pretty consistent with being available at that time. I know that some of you have a trial calendar that might have some conflict. I'll ask that if you can discuss with the courts that you're currently going to be engaged with or potentially going to be engaged with. If I need to call any of those judges, I'd be happy to. But if we could do it, allow everybody that opportunity to be present as well. Anything further from the state of Ohio?
No, Your Honor. Thank you.
On behalf of Ms. Ellis?
No, Your Honor.
All right, again, I thank all of you for professionalism as well throughout this trial. And so we'll recess at this time, and we'll be back on October 27th. All right, we'll adjourn.
Thank you.
Okay, guys. Y'all guys heard it. Bionca Ellis was found guilty on all charges, and she will be centered. I think they're gonna be. She'll be back in court on October the 27th. So she was found guilty on all charges, and you could hear baby boy mama in the back. You could hear Miss Wood. I know she's so happy that this is over with. You could hear her screaming in the back. So all I can say, rest in peace, Julia Wood. Rest in peace. This has been a long time, guys. Hold on a second. Just hold on a second for a minute. Okay, guys, so if anyone would like to come up and chat, please feel free. I'll be on here for another 10 minutes. I'm going to try to pull something else up for y'all guys too. Hold on a second.
Would once in the face defense attorneys as well as the state. Let's remind you what we're talking about here. June of 2024, Julian attorneys, the family of little Julian Wood, as well as for the rest of the participation in this, the defense attorneys, as well as the state. Let's remind you what we're talking. The attorneys, the family of little Julian Wood, as well as for the rest of the participation in this, the defense attorneys, as well as the state. Let's remind you what we're talking about here. June of 2024, Julian Wood and his mother Margot were walking out of Giant Eagle to put their groceries in their car when that woman, Bionca Ellis, came up behind them with a knife she had just stolen minutes before and stabbed little Julian Wood once in the face, stabbed his mother, and then stabbed Julian again in the back. The stab wounds would end up being fatal. It was just too much and too gruesome. The first cut in his cheek ended up severing the carotid artery in his neck. The stab in his back severed an artery in his lung. It is a terrible situation. You're looking live in the courtroom. We expect the judge to go on the record at 4:20. There will probably be some instructions given, and then the jury will come in. She is facing 9 charges. You'll remember in the beginning she was facing 10, but halfway through this trial, as the state rested, the defense made a motion to throw out the tampering with evidence charge. It's a fairly minor charge, but there was a debate when she was arrested just minutes later and only about 100 yards away when police showed up and they told her to drop the knife. There was a debate on whether she dropped it or tossed it. Now, if you're tossing something to try and get rid of it, or maybe they won't find it, that's tampering with evidence. The defense said she simply dropped it. They went ahead and took that charge off. Not a giant deal. What I want to do now is bring in our defense analyst, one of a couple that have been working with us on this case, Tara Coleman. Tara, deliberations, let's be honest, the jury got this case yesterday afternoon at about 4 o'clock. They were told to elect a jury foreperson, and then pretty much it sounds like after that they took a recess. They left for the day, which meant they deliberated today starting at 8:30 until about 3:30. Are you surprised at the length? This is a very complex case. Bionca Ellis has pleaded not guilty by reason of insanity, meaning the jury has to decide, was she insane at the exact moment of the attack? We know she has battled mental illness for 10 years. First of all, thank you for joining us yet again today. Walk me through news and your reaction when you heard there was a jury after, what are we talking, 7 hours of deliberation. Terry, you might be on mute there.
I was not expecting this today.
There you go.
So you're right, Dan. Yesterday, I'm sure all they got through was picking a foreman, if that. So really, just today's deliberations are what occurred. And I know we have been saying throughout that we were expecting this to be short, given that the insanity question really is a key determining factor that makes the rest of the analysis quick. So we'll see where they came out here. But
you're the legal expert here.
Yeah.
She has pleaded not guilty by reason of insanity. Walk us through again. I know you did this yesterday. What does that mean the jury had to decide?
Yeah. So as you know, normally in a criminal trial, right, the prosecution has to prove that a defendant committed these crimes beyond a reasonable doubt. What we're dealing with in this case, though, is an affirmative defense. And that's when the defense says, we know that the defendant did this, but this person has an affirmative defense for doing so, that being they are not guilty by reason of insanity. And both sides agree that this person is and was mentally ill. And so what it comes down to is whether at the time of the actual incident, did the defendant know right from wrong in that moment? And so that's the key thing that the jury would have to have been deliberating today. Because if you have that not guilty by reason of insanity, that obviously makes everything else easier. And if they find that she did know right from wrong at the time of the act, meaning the defense did not prove beyond a preponderance of the evidence that she was insane, that means they'll then have to consider those 9 remaining charges.
And let's talk about those charges. We have aggravated murder for the murder of Julian Wood. Then we have 2 counts of murder, one for Julian, one. Why are there 2 counts of murder?
Yeah, so what prosecutors will do is they will indict what are called lesser included offenses. And that's a way to kind of ensure that you do get a conviction at trial. So for instance, you have aggravated murder, which has a higher element that the prosecution has to prove than the purposeful murder. If purposeful murder is that lesser included, if they're found guilty on that, it's easier, if that makes sense. If they're found guilty on both, they just merge.
Okay, that does make sense. And then 2 counts of attempted murder. And this may be, I was discussing with one of our other legal analysts just a couple of minutes ago, there is an attempted murder charge for the stabbing of Margot, the mother. She was stabbed in the shoulder, I believe received 8 stitches. that may have been the debate here, if that's why this took lengthy. If some people are saying, boy, I didn't think it would take this long. Was she really trying to kill Margot, or was Margot trying to defend Julian and she took a shot to the shoulder? That's something the jury has to consider.
It is. So if they have found that this person, they're not going to find that she was insane and they're considering all of the charges, that is a discussion that I believe definitely would have happened in that deliberation room. And it is an interesting one because, and I know the defense pointed this out in their closing arguments. If the case is that she was trying to find the child Julian as the intended victim, then is that an attempted murder for the mother who is simply just trying to protect her baby? So that will be an interesting one to look out for when these verdicts are read.
A live look back inside the courtroom. We are still focused on the seal of the state of Ohio. I'm keeping my eye on this. We will not miss a single second of this. And in fact, we get some movement on the camera here, Tara, as we wait for the judge to come on the record. What should our viewers be listening for on this very first reading? What is the charge going to be, and what do we need to listen for? Is the jury four-person going to read this? Are they going to hand this to the judge? Walk us through that very first charge. What do we need to listen for?
Yes, so the foreman will be the spokesperson for the jury, and that's up to Judge Russo, how they are going to kind of operate to get the verdict out. Normally, the foreman will read for the jury and be that spokesperson, will read each count and what they found. So you will hear count 1, aggravated murder, either guilty or not guilty. Count 2 is murder. It's the subsection A of the Ohio murder statute. There's another murder charge, section B of the Ohio murder statute. So they'll go most likely in order of the counts as they were indicted, most likely. And they will read off what they've concluded on each one. What you're really looking for is, was there unanimous on each one of these? And Judge Russo most likely will jump in after each and confirm.
And it has to be unanimous. We'll get to that in a second. But on that very first charge, will they read either guilty or not guilty by reason of insanity? Or is there a chance it's guilty, not guilty, or not guilty by reason of insanity?
Yes, I see what you mean. So you would be looking at either, it would say aggravated murder, not guilty by reason of insanity, or not guilty, or guilty.
Because the jury can conclude that she was sane, but there wasn't enough evidence presented by the state for the aggravated purpose in this.
Correct.
And walk us through, what do you need for an aggravated murder charge conviction as opposed to a murder conviction?
Right. And so this is the most significant charge in the indictment. And aggravated murder requires that the state prove beyond a reasonable doubt prior calculation and design, meaning that you are essentially planning this. And that's why they did go through, how she, they went through the history of how she does this to seek help. The state also went through how she went to the store to pick the murder weapons, how she then went into another store surveying for victims. And so these are all things that the jury will have considered to see if it meets that bar of prior calculation and design.
And it is a pretty high bar. Some people are going to ask, well, why didn't they go for the death penalty in this case? First of all, the mental status, the mental health status of a client like, or a defendant like Bionca Ellis would have made it extremely difficult. And the one thing I've learned from covering this, and Terry, you're the expert, so correct me, to get that capital conviction, boy, there really has to be that forethought that This is my ex. I'm going to stalk this person. I'm going to go buy a weapon. I'm going to wait for that. That is that prior calculation that is so tough to prove.
Malice aforethought, and yes, that's right, Dan.
That it wasn't a crime of passion. It wasn't. And so we'll walk through as we look live. Again, we're not missing anything. The judge is running a little bit behind what he had hoped. The judge had hoped to go on the record by about 4:20 with the verdict read by about 4:30. Tara, you've been on some pretty major cases waiting for a jury to come back. If you are the defense, and I don't believe you've ever been a prosecutor, but walk me through the feelings on both sides.
Okay, at this point, you are nervous. I know we talked yesterday about closing arguments smooth. You're nervous. You're thinking about your client, and you need to be there to support them. And it's just a waiting game. So you'll be kind of hanging out, waiting for the call to be there at a moment's notice to hear the verdict be read.
What would surprise you? I don't want to make you play the role of a juror here, but you've seen enough of this case. We've heard the just emotional, gut-wrenching testimony from Margot Wood. Let's be honest, she was the best witness in this entire case. What would surprise you, or maybe not surprise you, as we wait for the jury and the verdict?
I would not be surprised if they find that the defense did not prove not guilty by reason of insanity. I wouldn't be surprised. And then what we're going to have to just look out for is, how did they consider each of those 9 remaining counts?
Because let's remind our viewers, there were 2 main doctor key witnesses here. You had one that was hired by the defense, and she said, it is my medical professional opinion that she was insane at the moment of the attack. You then had the state's doctor, psychiatrist get up there, and he said, it is my opinion she was not insane, based on his 3-hour interview with Bionca a year later. She had been medicated. She was able to give responses at that point. And I thought what was interesting in his testimony, and we've talked about it here in the newsroom, is she never said in that interview with the state's doctor, she had told him about voices she had heard in the past, and a bowl of ants and people coming through her walls trying to kill her. But when he asked what was going on that day, she never said, I had 15 voices in my head and they were telling me that I had to go kill someone. That was never the case. We never heard any testimony that she heard voices that particular day. That's pretty damaging to the defense's case.
Sure, yeah, it does. It does, I guess, as you're considering the severity of the mental illness at the time of the act, that would cut kind of against the defense. Again, it's going to be down to whether she knew right from wrong. And I would say, hearing voices and that would bolster that person probably did not know right from wrong at the time. But we'll see how the jury weighs it out.
Let's also walk through this, the moments before, the 10, 15 minutes before, when she walks into Volunteers of America and she is seen on surveillance camera spending about 2 or 3 minutes selecting a knife from the houseware bins. Volunteers of America
By the state beyond a reasonable doubt. And that is a high burden on the state. So they will take that evidence and weigh it. And it will also come down to, again, what was her state of mind, though, and whether or not at that time.
Insanity.
So if she is found not guilty by reason of insanity, most likely, I would say all of the counts, that would apply to all of the counts, maybe that theft count might be lingering. However, what will happen is she'll be found not guilty. She'll be detained. Because what has to happen next is they will do a hearing to essentially consider her mental status and what should happen next.
And you sent me paperwork today and did some incredible research. The state, even if she's found, because some people are going to think if they read not guilty by reason of insanity, she's just going to walk. She will be out in our community tomorrow. According to what you and we discussed today and yesterday, that's not going to happen.
So, right. So after the not guilty by reason of insanity, the court has 10 days to have a hearing. And this is under the certain Ohio Revised Code provision that allows for the not guilty by reason of insanity. And also that could be continued. We don't know if that will be continued, but that's allowed. And what will happen is at that hearing, the judge will decide whether this person is mentally ill by court order or whether there is a disability for it being institutionalized. Either way, a commitment procedure is likely to follow.
And I thought it was interesting that they do have 10 days for that hearing. It can be continued, but I was shocked to read in the Ohio Revised Code, if that doesn't happen in 10 days, what happens?
Yeah, there's no way that will,
Right. I know it won't happen. And we're seeing shots in the courtroom. The judge, Tara, the judge is now in the courtroom. We want to go live to that. Tara, I'm going to tell you, I'm going to reset the shot, so I'm going to need you to call back in. But let's now take you as we see Bionca Ellis heading into the room to learn her fate. This is going to be the moment that this has led up to. We are about to get the reading of the verdict from the jury in the murder trial as you see Bionca Ellis now coming into the courtroom in the murder of Julian Wood, just 3 years old, murdered in a Giant Eagle parking lot last summer.
All right, thank you. You may be seated. Kathleen, you're going to have to get up. All right, so ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I've been told you have a verdict, and so I'll ask the foreperson to please provide the verdict to my bailiff. Thank you.
Judge Russo is now going to review the verdict form signed by the jury to make sure everything is in order. But as we heard from Tara Coleman, our defense analyst, he may read the verdict or he may have the jury read the verdict, the jury foreperson.
All right, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, at this time, we thank you for your service. Again, I don't think any of us could go too far beyond saying that having you for 2 weeks, we know has been a cause for you to disrupt your lives, and so we thank you for your service. At this time, I'll read the verdicts on all charges, and then with respect to that, I will poll each of you just to confirm that it is your decision of this verdict. So with respect to the 9 counts and the furthermore, this jury says that they duly find and impaneled as sworn jurors in this case do find the defendant, Bionca Ellis, guilty of all charges. Those guilty charges also carry with it the furthermore that she did commit the other charge as requested with a finding of all 12 of you. So with that being said, juror number 1, is this your decision? Yes. Juror number 2? Yes. Juror number 3? Yes. Juror number 4? Juror number 5? Yes. Juror number 6? Yes. Juror number 7? Yes. Juror number 8? Juror number 9? Juror number 10? Juror number 11? Yes. And juror number 12? All right, thank you. Again, I thank you for your service on behalf of Cuyahoga County and the 34 judges here. And we, at this time, will rise for the jury and we'll have a moment to speak to you afterwards.
There you have it.
Counsel to sidebar to review the.
They're going to do a quick sidebar with the attorneys from both sides. You just heard it live. It was very quick. Guilty on all 9 charges. Aggravated murder, 2 counts of murder, 2 counts of attempted murder, 1 count of child endangering. One of the earlier counts was tampering with evidence. That was thrown out halfway through the trial. It was a debate over whether she tried to truly get rid of the knife or just dropped it next to her. That's the only.
Thank you. You can be seated. All right, so at this time, having an opportunity to review the verdict forms, the court is going to set a sentencing date. I had asked the lawyers, I'm going to set it for October 27th at, again, 8:30 in the morning. I think we've been pretty consistent with being available at that time. I know that some of you have a trial calendar that might have some conflict. I'll ask that if you can discuss with the courts that you're currently going to be engaged with or potentially going to be engaged with. If I need to call any of those judges, I'd be happy to. But if we could do it, allow everybody that opportunity to be present as well. Anything further from the state of Ohio?
No, Your Honor. Thank you.
On behalf of Ms. Ellis?
No, Your Honor.
All right, again, I thank all of you for professionalism as well throughout this trial. And so we'll recess at this time and we'll be back on October 27th. All right, we'll adjourn.
Thank you.
As we see the handcuffs placed on Bionca Ellis, this is the first time, let's remind you, that we've seen handcuffs on her during the trial. You might ask why that is. That would bias a jury. If you saw a defendant coming into the courtroom every day wearing handcuffs and having them taken off, that could bias a jury to think that she was guilty before. We are listening to an emotional courtroom. We are hearing tears.
We'll get her down when they're done. Okay. I'm gonna call the whole time.
Clearly, the emotion.
Okay, guys, you heard it. I couldn't take it no more. That was the baby and mother crying. She breaking down. I'm so glad that this is over with, guys. I'm so glad it's over with. Now she can go ahead on and start her healing process. I know it's not going to be over with because Bionca Ellis, the one that stabbed the little boy, will have to come back to court on the 27th. And I'm pretty sure the mother of the little boy is going to be in there on the 27th of this month. So at least she can start their healing process. I want to say rest in peace, little baby boy. Rest in peace. So, guys, like I said, you could come up with the chat. But all I want to say is rest in peace. 1 second. Okay, guys, go ahead on and end this live. Thank you, thank you. Thank you for tuning in and listening to the verdict. The verdict is in. She's guilty on all charges. She'll be back in court October the 27th, and I will have that information detailed for y'all on the 27th. Okay, guys? Thank you again, and please always keep in mind self-control, discipline, love, patience, and peace. Until next time. Good night, guys. Good night.